I'm going to be honest, I don't know how to make this video. I mean, everyone already knows everything about Super Mario Bros. It's one of the most iconic and influential video games of all time. There are probably about 1 million video essays and reviews for this game on YouTube already. I don't really know how to make this video interesting or different from the rest. But you know what, I'm just going to go for it anyways. This year is Super Mario's 40th anniversary, and I want to celebrate it by reviewing and taking a look back at every main series Mario game. Mario is my favorite video game franchise and has impacted my life in many ways throughout the years. I want to take a look back and try to discover what makes each individual Mario game so special. My name is Mario Man 847 and this is my review / retrospective of Super Mario Bros. For the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now I'm going to skip over giving a history lesson about how Super Mario Bros. Came to be. There are already a trillion videos about that, and anyone can learn the history of Super Mario Bros. By just doing a quick Google search. This video is going to be all about my personal opinion and personal history with Super Mario Bros. Super Mario Bros. Was not my first Mario game, not at all. My first Mario game was actually Super Mario Advance for the Game Boy Advance, as the Game Boy Advance was one of the consoles I grew up on. I didn't actually play Super Mario Bros. Until the mid-2000s on emulator. I played Super Mario Bros. Because I was curious how the series started, since at that point I had already played so many Mario games before it. And I remember having a very negative opinion on this game when I first played it. I thought the graphics were terrible, I thought the controls were clunky, I hated how you couldn't walk backwards without the screen stopping to a halt, I hated the water levels, I couldn't stand how losing a power up when you had a fire flower made you revert all the way back to small Mario. And most of all, I was fuming over the concept of a game over sending you all the way back to the beginning of the game. Even though Super Mario Bros. Only takes like 30 minutes to beat, I never even finished the game for years. While I could still appreciate the game for starting what became my favorite video game franchise, as a game on its own, I just couldn't bring myself to enjoy it. I remember trying to play through Super Mario Bros. Numerous times. I honestly felt obligated to play it. Like, could I really call myself a true Mario fan if I haven't even beaten the first game in the whole series? But every time I tried to play it, I got frustrated over something and just had to shut it off. I technically could have brute forced my way through the game by just using warps to get to the 8th world and beat the game in like 10 minutes. But I really wanted to do a full authentic playthrough of the game by playing every level and seeing everything the game had to offer. I pledged to myself that if I ever do manage to beat Super Mario Bros, it will be without warps. Eventually, as I grew up, I did eventually finally play all of Super Mario Bros. From start to finish. I don't remember when it was exactly, but as I grew older, I came to a pretty big realization. What I need to do to enjoy Super Mario Bros. Is to put myself in the shoes of people who played Super Mario Bros. For the first time back in the year 1985. I mean, back then, Super Mario Bros. Was pretty much the greatest game of all time. Nothing else really compared. The thing is, the reason why I hated Super Mario Bros. So much is because I was spoiled by all the convenient things that modern gaming had. Stuff like lush 3D graphics, tight responsive controls, checkpoints, deeper storylines, the list goes on and on. But if I just imagine that I'm playing Super Mario Bros. Back when it first came out, back when all these modern gaming conveniences didn't exist, it makes it much easier to enjoy Super Mario Bros. It makes you really appreciate the game a lot more, because if you think about it, this game is actually super ahead of its time. Video games back in the 1980s didn't really have much depth. It was mostly just bleeps and bloops on a screen and going for some kind of high score. But if you compare Super Mario Bros. To something like Galaga, Pac-Man, or even games like Donkey Kong or Mario Bros., then Super Mario Bros. Is just amazing, a huge spectacle of a game. Going on this grand adventure from level to level, traveling from grassy plains to underground areas to castles to even underwater, unique enemies with different properties, power-ups to enhance Mario's abilities, boss fights, secrets to discover. Like, this game is actually insane when you think about it. We take it for granted today, but back then this really was something special. There were not many games with this much depth at the time. So many of the video game things that we know today came from Super Mario Bros. The concepts of platforming, defeating enemies, discovering secrets, boss fights, etc. Even something as simple as going from one level to the next, and each level having distinct environments, is another thing that might not seem like a big deal these days, but at the time this was awesome. You really feel like you're going on a grand adventure in Super Mario Bros., which is something that can't really be said about many other games at the time. Alright, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to review Super Mario Bros. As objectively as I can without comparing it to any future games in the series. Let's take a dive into this game and try to discover why it was so revolutionary for its time. Super Mario Bros. Is a very easy game to understand. The entire game is basically just hold right and jump. There's also a run button you can use to go faster and you know what? This is a waste of time. If you're watching this video, then you probably already know how this game works. Let's just skip past all the obvious stuff that everyone already knows about and get right into my actual opinions on this game. In fact, let's make it fun. I'm going to do a little challenge. I'm going to do a little mini review of every single level in this game. That's right, all 32 levels. After all, this is a 2D platformer, so level design is the most important aspect of it. Let's do this. World 1-1. World 1-1 is fantastic. It's simple, intuitive, and teaches the player everything they need to know about the game. A perfect introduction and one of the most important and iconic video game levels of all time. I give this level an awesome out of 10. World 1-2. The second level of Super Mario Bros. Drops you into an underground cave and you get a completely different color palette from the first level. It's a lot more claustrophobic and boxed in compared to the first level. It introduces Koopas and the concept of kicking Koopa shells. It also introduces piranha plants coming out of pipes. And let's not forget about the iconic warp that leads all the way to World 4, allowing you to skip to a later part of the game if you so choose. Now that I think about it, I think the warps in Super Mario Bros. Are probably the closest thing this game had to saves. Because, you know, if you get a game over in this game, you have to start all the way over from the beginning. But the warps kind of lessen the blow a bit because let's say if you die like in World 5, you know, it's not the end of the world because you can just take the warp from World 1-2 and then warp all the way to World 4 and then, you know, you're like already almost back where you started or almost back where you were when you died. Overall, there's lots of gimmicks and challenges in World 1-2 that makes it stand out compared to World 1-1. It's a good level. I give World 1-2 a cool out of 10. World 1-3. World 1-3 is a sky level with these tall, grassy hill platforms. It introduces the concept of bottomless pits being a real threat to the player. This level features things like moving platforms and paratroopers, enemies that can fly in the sky. This is a fun level that introduces plenty of new concepts, once again. I give World 1-3 a great out of 10. World 1-4. This level is really cool. We're in a brand new dark environment. This level introduces the concept of rotating fire bars. The foreboding music makes you feel like you're exploring a dastardly castle. When you get near the end of the level, there's a big surprise factor in the fireballs that shoot out at you from afar. Until you realize that the fireballs are coming from Bowser himself. Which brings us to one of the earliest examples of a boss battle in video game history. I mean, there's not much to this boss battle. You can just jump over Bowser, you know, touch the axe and he falls down into the lava. But it's still a cool spectacle nonetheless. And of course, we get the iconic line, "Thank you, Mario, but our princess is in another castle." Oh geez, I'm really sorry for doing that Toad voice. Anyway, that's it for 1-4. I give this level a very cool out of 10. You know, it's crazy how all that stuff happens in just the first world of the game. This many unique occurrences is absolutely unheard of in a video game from this era. World 2-1. This level is pretty basic, but it does have a secret vine that leads up into a cloud area with a bunch of coins. Another example of this game having lots of fun secrets. Yeah, this level is nothing super astounding, but it's good enough. I give this level an alright out of 10. World 2-2. This is the first water level that introduces a plethora of underwater themed enemies. I'll be honest, I don't really like the water levels in this game, but this is the first water level and it introduces something completely unique from every level before it. So I think I'll give this one a pass. I'll give World 2-2 an acceptable out of 10. World 2-3. This is probably the worst level so far. It's just a straight line with a bunch of jumping cheeps. The only compliment I can give to this level is that it introduces something of a challenge to the game, I guess, but still, very uninspired. I give World 2-3 a meh out of 10. World 2-4. Another castle level. This level has fireballs jumping out at you from lava, some more fire bars, and platforms that move up and down. They also add an interesting challenge to the boss fight this time around by having these bricks placed in front of Bowser. It makes it a bit harder to jump on top of him. Overall, a decent level, but nothing extraordinary. I give this one a decent out of 10. I do think that World 2 is a step down from World 1 overall, but that doesn't mean that World 2 is bad. It kinda just doesn't introduce as many new interesting things as World 1 does. But I guess something like that is inevitable, so it's not that big of a deal. World 3-1. I think this is supposed to be a nighttime snow world because of the white trees and dark background. A nice change of scenery. This level has jumping paratroopers, some bridges, and I believe it's the first level in the game with Hammer Bros. The dreaded SMB1 Hammer Bros. This is a good enough level, I suppose. Good out of 10. World 3-2. Holy crap, this level sucks. I legit think someone was having a bad day at work when they were making this level. It's literally just a straight line with nothing but enemies. It reminds me of a bad Mario Maker level. There is a star that you get halfway through the level that lets you plow through enemies, which makes the level a bit more bearable. But this might be the worst level in the game so far. At least even the cheap level in World 2 had some challenge to it. This level is not even difficult. Yeah, I'm gonna have to give this one a bad out of 10. World 3-3. This level actually introduces a new gimmick in the form of these seesaw platforms. Pretty cool. The level itself is well designed and fun to jump through. Good out of 10. Way better than the previous level. World 3-4. This castle level isn't very remarkable. It does have a new setup with the fire bars, but overall it's just really short and doesn't have anything memorable in it. I'm gonna have to give this one a meh out of 10. Oof, World 3 was pretty rough, not gonna lie. 2 levels were good, but 2 levels were kinda just not very good. Let's hope that World 4 is better. World 4-1. This level introduces a brand new enemy, the Lakitu, a guy who follows you throughout the level and throws a bunch of spinies at you. You can actually kill the Lakitu in the middle of the level by jumping up some blocks, which is nice. Honestly, I think the introduction of Lakitu here is a good thing, because without him, this level would be pretty bland. He definitely adds some nice tension to the mix, and it's nice to see the game still introducing some new gimmicks this far into the game. I give this level a good out of 10. World 4-2. For one thing, it has a secret warp that leads to World 5. Besides that, this is definitely the most claustrophobic level so far. This level has a lot of really tight jumps you have to make, especially this jump at the end where you have to jump off of this pipe with the bricks at the top. Unfortunately though, a lot of this level can kind of just be cheesed by running across the top of it. I actually think this is a pretty good level though if you play through it normally. It challenges the player pretty well, I think. I'm actually going to give it a great out of 10. World 4-3. 4-3 is just a fun, simple level where you jump across mushroom platforms and seesaws. Not too much going on here to be honest, but it's fine. I'll give it a cool out of 10. World 4-4. I am not a fan of this level. For one reason and one reason alone, it's a pick a path level. Pick a path levels suck. There's no real challenge or skill to them, you just keep guessing until you get the right path. Bad out of 10. Besides 4-4, I do think that World 4 was a step up from World 3 overall, so that's nice. World 5-1. This level has the white trees and white warp pipes from before, but this time in a daytime aesthetic, so I guess this is supposed to be a daytime snow level. This level introduces bullet bills, and yeah, that's about it really. This level introducing bullet bills is really the only thing that stands out about it. It's a pretty basic level besides that though. Still, I gotta give credit to the game for still introducing new enemies and mechanics this far into the game. Good out of 10. World 5-2. This level is weird. It starts off as a pretty standard level with more bullet bills, but for some reason they decided to put a pipe early on in the level that leads to an underwater section. There's nothing remarkable about the underwater section either. It's pretty basic and also really short. After that, it's just a more basic platforming to the goal. Not really sure what they were thinking with this level, honestly. Meh out of 10. World 5-3. Now this level is great. It feels like a real platforming challenge. With bullet bills that are flying at you as you jump across thin platforms in the sky. You know, I think my favorite levels in this game are the ones where you're jumping across platforms in the sky. They feel the most platformy and are also decently challenging without feeling unfair. I'm going to give this one a great out of 10. World 5-4. This level is basically just firebar spam. You gotta avoid a bunch of rotating firebars as you make your way to Bowser. It's fine, but nothing crazy. Decent out of 10. World 6-1. Honestly, this is just another Lakitu level. There are a lot of bottomless pits to make things more dangerous though. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a fine level. Alright out of 10. World 6-2. This level is like bad. It's just a bunch of pipes with piranha plants coming out of them. It's just very uneventful and boring, honestly. I'm unfortunately going to have to give this one a bad out of 10. World 6-3. This level is good. It's another sky platform level, and as always I feel like these are the best designed levels in the game. This one in particular has a bunch of thin platforms and seesaw platforms that Mario has to traverse. It's a clever way to make a harder version of levels we played previously since the platforms are smaller now. And it's a welcome challenge since we're getting pretty far into the game at this point. This level is a perfect example of using old gimmicks in a new and challenging and fun way. I'm actually going to give this level an awesome out of 10 since I don't think I've given a level that rating since the first level. Lol. World 6-4. Just like World 5-4, this level is basically just firebar central. Just lots and lots of firebars. I will say though that the firebars are placed in clever ways to make this a bit more challenging than previous levels with firebars. Also, Bowser throws a bunch of hammers at the end of this level, making it the hardest version of Bowser yet. I'll give this one an alright out of 10. It's okay. Alright, we're almost done. Only 2 worlds left. Next up, World 7-1. Okay, so at this point the game's difficulty ramps up significantly. There are bullet bills everywhere and they're all placed in really jerkish locations. There are also sections that have 2 sets of Hammer Bros, and Hammer Bros are absolutely brutal in this game. You know, I do honestly feel like this game's difficulty ramps up at a pretty fair pace. It does gradually get more challenging as it goes on, but not really in a jarring way, which is pretty impressive. I'll give 7-1 a good out of 10. It's challenging and fun. World 7-2. Yeah, bloopers everywhere. Meh out of 10. World 7-3. Yeah, cheeps everywhere. Wait a minute, isn't this just a slightly harder version of World 2-3? It's pretty much the exact same thing. You're just running in a straight line avoiding cheats, but this time there's some Koopas in the way too. I have a sneaking suspicion that the developers are getting kinda lazy at this point. Bad out of 10. World 7-4. Okay, 7-4 is a pick a path level, so it's automatically bad. Man, honestly, I think World 7 is the worst one so far. It just feels lazy and rushed compared to many of the other worlds. It's like filler. Bad out of 10. World 8-1. The final world. This level kinda just sucks. It's just really long and boring. It's not even challenging. Oof. These late game levels have been pretty rough so far, not gonna lie. This level sucks out of 10. World 8-2. This level is just brutal. It has a lot of really evil enemy combinations. Lakitus and paratroopers, bullet bills and paratroopers. They don't even give you a power up until about halfway through the level. They also make you do this weird jump off of these tiny platforms next to a warp pipe. This definitely feels like the hardest level so far, which is fitting because we are only a few levels away from the last level. I imagine this is a level that a lot of players got a game over on back in the day. Honestly though, I don't think the challenge in this level is unfair. You absolutely can get good at it with enough practice. Just sucks that you get sent to the beginning of the game if you fail though. Solid level though. I'm gonna give 8-2 a good out of 10. World 8-3. This level is the absolute stuff of nightmares. There are Hammer Bros everywhere. The worst parts are the sections where there's just a Hammer Bro standing there menacingly. It's not that difficult to get past the Hammer Bros when they're on blocks because you can kill them from under the blocks or just avoid them entirely. But when they're just standing on a flat area, you have to deal with the brutal randomness of their jumps and hammers. I mean, I'm always open to challenge late in the game, but I don't know, this one feels like a bit too much, especially considering the random factors of the Hammer Bros. It can get pretty frustrating pretty quick. I'm going to give this one a meh out of 10. World 8-4, the final frontier. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know how to feel about this level. It's kind of just a pick a path level where you have to figure out what warp pipes to enter. It's basically just trial and error until you figure out what the right path is. There's also a short underwater section for some reason. Oh yeah, and they were complete jerks and decided to put a Hammer Bro on the ground right before the Bowser fight. I don't know, this level just feels kind of uneventful for being the last level. I think it would have been better if it was like a long platforming challenge that tests everything you've learned in the game up to this point. Making it just a mazy pick a path level feels kinda lazy, honestly. It sucks that the game ends on kind of a low note, but I'm just gonna have to give this level a whatever out of 10. Anyway, after you beat Bowser for the last time, no more Toads, you finally actually saved the princess and your quest is over. When you beat the game, Peach offers you a new quest, but it's not really a new quest, it's basically just a hard mode where all the Goombas turn into Buzzy Beetles. Actually, what's funny is that if you beat the game again on this hard mode, there's another new quest where the enemies are faster and the Hammer Bros chase you. Sheesh, I don't know why they made the Hammer Bros so intense in this game. Overall, considering the fact that this is one of the earliest 2D platformers ever made, I honestly think the level design in Super Mario Bros. Is really impressive overall. I do think the level design kind of drops off in the second half of the game. There's a lot of copy and paste going on and I feel like the developers were either rushing to meet a deadline or they were just running out of ideas. The first 4 worlds consistently introduce new and exciting ideas to the player, but once you get to about like World 5 and 6, there are almost no new ideas and they kind of just try to use the same old ideas in new ways, which actually isn't necessarily a bad thing. I mean, a lot of video games do that even today, but I do think that the gimmicks and concepts in SMB1 could have been utilized a bit better overall. In the end though, it's kind of hard to fault the game too much considering how old it is, and there are plenty of Mario games after SMB1 that improve on the concepts introduced in this game. So this game definitely deserves credit for introducing those concepts in the first place. You know, I should mention that the controls in this game are absolutely superb. Like, playing this game again for the sake of this retrospective made me appreciate the controls in this game more than ever before. Mario's speed, acceleration, and jumps all feel very logical and responsive. Mario even slows down a bit when you jump into the air, giving you a bit of time to correct yourself after your jump. When you miss a jump in this game, it definitely feels like it's your fault and not the game's. You can tell the developers took notes from previous arcade games such as Donkey Kong and Mario Bros. To really optimize the controls in this game as much as possible. Kudos to them. Honestly dude, I have no idea what the heck else to talk about in this video. I think the most important aspects of a 2D platformer are the level design and controls, both of which I have gone into detail over. I wasn't lying when I said I don't know how to make this video, which is why I kind of just padded this video out by reviewing every level in the game. Otherwise this review probably would have been like 5 minutes long. I guess I could talk about the story. I mean, I do think it's kind of weird how Bowser has a magical ability to turn the residents of the Mushroom Kingdom into things like bricks and stuff, when he never uses that ability on Mario for some reason. That's pretty weird. I could talk about the soundtrack of this game, you know, the iconic soundtrack, the iconic main theme that Nintendo has remixed constantly throughout the past 40 years. I could talk about the 2-player mode, which isn't really a 2-player mode, it's just 2 players taking turns playing levels. Yeah, I don't know man, this video is already over 20 minutes long. I don't think I have to drag it out any more than I need to. I tried to make this video as entertaining as possible and I really hope I achieved that. As far as my overall opinion on Super Mario Bros., I really have 2 main perspectives on the game. The past perspective and the future perspective. If I compare Super Mario Bros. To future games in the series or just future platformers in general, then my opinion on the game isn't very high. But if I view this game from the perspective of the past and the people who were playing it in the past, then I hold this game in very high regard. I don't have a whole lot of nostalgia for this game, so I think I can view this game from a pretty unbiased perspective. There are obviously much better games than Super Mario Bros., but that doesn't mean that Super Mario Bros. Isn't a good game. In fact, in a lot of ways, I do think the game holds up decently well even today. I was kind of surprised at how much fun I was having with this game when I replayed it for the sake of this retrospective. Especially when you consider how much I used to absolutely hate this game. Personally, I'm glad that I decided to view this game from a different perspective in recent years, because for a long time I thought people only liked this game for nostalgia purposes only. But no, there's more to it than that. Super Mario Bros. Can still be fun to play to this day, and there's definitely still a lot of enjoyment that can be had from it. It's a fun, bite-sized adventure that can bring anyone back to simpler times. Anyway, I think I am going to end this video now because I am kind of just repeating myself at this point. Next time I'm going to be taking a look at both the Eastern version of Super Mario Bros. 2 and the Western version of Super Mario Bros. 2, all in the same video. Oh boy, I'm sure that'll be a fun time. I hope you guys join me on my quest to revisit and appreciate all these Mario games that mean so much, not just to me, but to millions of people across the globe. See you guys next time, thank you for watching, and have a good day.